Welcome. Today we are going to unpack the critical machinery behind successful IT organizations, governance, and management. We aren't just talking about fixing computers. We are talking about how an organization structures itself to ensure IT delivers real business value while keeping risks under control. We will explore the strategic alignment of IT, the organizational structures that support it, and the governance frameworks that guide it. Let's start by clearing up a common confusion: the difference between governance and management. They are not the same thing. Think of governance as the steering of the ship. This is the responsibility of the board of directors. They set the direction, prioritizing stakeholder needs and monitoring performance against agreed-upon objectives. Management, on the other hand, is the engine room. Led by the CEO and CIO, management plans, builds, runs, and monitors activities to align with the direction set by the governance body. If governance asks, "Are we doing the right things?" management asks, "Are we doing things right?" The ultimate goal here is strategic alignment, ensuring that every IT dollar spent actually supports the business mission. This diagram visualizes the hierarchy. At the top, we have corporate governance, which dictates the overall business strategy. This flows down into IT governance, which sets the specific direction for technology. Notice how IT governance directs IT management. Management then cycles through planning, building, running, and monitoring. The output is IT services, which loops back up to deliver value to the corporation. It is a closed loop. If the services don't deliver value back to the top, the governance structure needs adjustment. Now let's talk strategy. A common failure point is having an IT strategy that is completely disconnected from the business strategy. Effective governance requires that the IT strategic plan flows directly from the organization's mission. We are looking at a 3-to 5-year horizon here. This isn't just about buying servers. It's about answering the question: how will IT enable the business to win in the market? This alignment prevents the shadow IT phenomenon and ensures resources are focused on high-value initiatives. Furthermore, as we see with digital transformation, IT is no longer just a support function. In many modern enterprises, IT is the business process. Therefore, the strategic planning process must be integrated, identifying not just opportunities, but also the risks associated with new technologies. Look at this mind map. At the center is the business strategy. That's the core. Branching out, we see market goals like revenue and retention. Crucially, notice how IT strategy is a direct branch of the business strategy, not a separate entity. It includes enabling technology and digital transformation. We also see risk appetite and resource allocation as key branches. This illustrates that you cannot define your IT strategy or your security posture without understanding the central business goals and how much risk the organization is willing to accept. Structure drives behavior. At the very top of the organizational structure is the board of directors. They are liable for the failure of internal controls, so they must be actively involved. They set the tone at the top. If the board ignores IT risk, the rest of the company will too. Below them, executive management, the C-suite, translates that direction into action. A key structural indicator for auditors is the reporting line of the CIO. Does the CIO report to the CFO? That suggests IT is viewed as a cost center. Do they report to the CEO? That suggests IT is a strategic partner. The structure must clearly separate oversight from execution to avoid conflicts of interest. Here is a simplified organizational chart. The board of directors sits at the top, providing oversight. They delegate authority to the CEO. Notice the peer relationship between the CIO, CFO, and COO. This represents a mature organization where IT has a seat at the table. Under the CIO, we have functional areas like operations, development, and security. Crucially, internal audit often reports to the audit committee of the board, indirectly shown via finance/oversight, ensuring independence from the management team they are auditing. Governance is often enacted through committees. You must distinguish between the IT Strategy Committee and the IT Steering Committee. The IT Strategy Committee operates at the board level. It includes board members and focuses on the long-term what and why, advising the board on strategy and risk. The IT Steering Committee operates at the management level. It includes the CIO and key business executives. It focuses on the how, prioritizing projects, approving budgets, and monitoring service levels. Think of the Strategy Committee as the architect designing the house, and the Steering Committee as the general contractor ensuring it gets built according to plan. This visual comparison makes the distinction clear. In the blue box at the top, we have the board level. The IT Strategy Committee advises the board directly. In the green box below, at the management level, we have the IT Steering Committee. The board delegates authority to the Steering Committee, which in turn directs the actual IT department. One advises on direction, the other drives the execution. A critical component of organizational structure is segregation of duties, or SOD. The golden rule is that no single individual should have the authority to execute a transaction from initiation to completion. Why? To prevent fraud and error. If you can write the code and also move it to production, you can hide malicious code without anyone noticing. Therefore, we must separate development from operations. We must separate the person who requests access from the person who grants it. In smaller organizations where staffing levels make perfect SOD impossible, we rely on compensating controls, like enhanced monitoring, audit logs, and management supervision to mitigate the risk. This flow shows a secure access request process. The user makes a request. It hits a decision point, authorization required. The manager, in orange, provides approval. Then, a separate role, the security admin, in blue, performs the technical provisioning. The dotted line shows where the conflict would be. If the manager and security admin were the same person, they could approve and grant access to themselves or others without oversight. SOD breaks that link. You can't manage what you don't measure. Traditional metrics focus only on money, but the Balanced Scorecard, or BSC, gives a holistic view. It forces us to look at IT performance from 4 perspectives. First, financial. Are we cost-effective? Second, customer. Are our business users happy? Third, internal process. Are we efficient, or is our changelog a mess? And fourth, learning and growth. Are we preparing for the future? ISACA adapts this for IT specifically, often looking at business contribution, user orientation, operational excellence, and future orientation. It links concrete metrics, like uptime or budget variance, back to those high-level strategic goals we discussed in Slide 2. Imagine a quadrant chart representing the Balanced Scorecard. Top right is the customer perspective looking externally at user satisfaction. Top left is financial looking at business contribution. Bottom left is learning and growth focusing on the future and staff skills. Bottom right is internal processes focusing on operational efficiency. A healthy organization has dots, metrics, distributed across all 4 quadrants, not just clustered in one area. We cannot discuss governance without mentioning COBIT. It is the de facto framework for IT governance. COBIT provides a common language for business executives and IT professionals. It breaks IT down into domains: align, plan, and organize, handles the strategy, build, acquire, and implement, handles the projects, deliver, service, and support, handles operations, and monitor, evaluate, and assess, handles compliance. For an auditor, COBIT is your map. It connects high-level business requirements, like we need to be compliant, to specific low-level IT controls, like perform daily backups. This diagram illustrates the COBIT core model. At the very top, detached from the daily grind, is EDM, evaluate, direct, monitor. That's the governance layer. This feeds into the management loop below. APO planning flows to BAI, building, which flows to DSS, running, delivering. Finally, MEA, monitoring, checks everything and feeds data back up to the governance layer, EDM, and back into planning, APO. It is a continuous cycle of improvement. To wrap up, IT governance is an ecosystem. It starts with the organizational structure, the board, and steering committees defining who decides. It moves to IT strategy defining what we do to support the business. It relies on frameworks like COBIT to define how we control it. And it uses tools like the balanced scorecard to measure if we are succeeding. When these elements, structure, strategy, and governance work together, IT becomes a transparent, strategic partner that drives the business forward, rather than a technical back-office function. Thank you for your time. Our final diagram shows the continuous life cycle of governance. We start with strategic alignment, driven by the board. This leads to value delivery, driven by steering committees. To protect that value, we engage in risk management. To execute, we need resource management. Finally, we use performance measurement to see if it worked, which informs our next cycle of strategic alignment. This loop ensures the organization remains resilient and profitable.